Guys got it? All right, hard work on three, sprint to the next spot. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hard work. Sprint to the next spot. Don't walk. Get there, get there, get there, get there.
I'm Rick Lewis with Phenom Hoop Report. In today's Phenom Focus, I'm here with Coach David Noel with Southern Durham. Coach, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Coach, tell us a little bit about your days at UNC. You had quite a history there.
I did. Got there in 2002. Came in with a loaded freshman class. Guys like Raymond Felton, Rashad McCants, Sean May, Byron Sanders, Damian Grant, and I was the sixth guy in that class. North Carolina had just came off of an 8-20 year.
Right, I remember that.
We kind of came in with some steam, did a really good job in the preseason NIT, and then ended up not making a tournament that year. But fast forward a couple years later, new coach, Coach Doherty, I played for at the beginning. He brought me in. Then Coach Williams came in that following year. A couple years later, we turned from 8-20 to a national championship in 2005. And then my senior year, got a chance to play with some really good guys. Danny Green, being one of the big names, just won an NBA championship. Tyler Hansbrough,
right.
Marcus Ginyard, Bobby Frazier, Mike Copeland, guys like that. So my time at UNC was fun. I enjoyed every bit of it.
Now you came in with a heritage recruiting class, and you came in basically the first couple years. You had to come in off the bench, correct?
Yeah, and that's for me. I've always been the guy that wanted to work my way up. So I understood what the challenge was for me, coming off of being a football player and then transitioning to a basketball player, so to speak. But I knew what the challenge was, and I was ready to accept it.
Now, when you played at Durham Southern, right? You were a wide receiver.
Correct.
I remember that.
Yes, sir.
So you were a two-sport star. You went to Carolina. You had a rough freshman year. Then you transitioned. You worked your way back, and in 2005, y'all won the national championship. What lessons did you learn from that national championship that you can take away from that today?
Honestly, it was just the amount of work that it's going to take to put in, and understanding that your season is a marathon, not a sprint. You're gonna take your bumps and your bruises throughout the year. The losses that we had during that championship run, like kind of the first loss we had, it brought us down to reality. We were preseason number one. We were supposed to be this big bag team, and we go out to California and lose to Santa Clara.
And that was on the first game of the year, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yep. Raymond Felton didn't play that game, but at the end of the day, we still had enough talent around us that should have won that game. But it taught us to be humble, so to speak. And then again, we take this new ride. We run off a couple games, and then we lose another one. I think each loss that year taught us something, and that was pretty huge for us. So that's kind of what I try to take from it.
Now, when you graduated from Carolina, you got drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks. And you went in what, the 38th round?
Second round, 39th pick.
39th pick. So the lesson you have there was you had to work your way from being the sixth man into being a contributor on the national championship team. But that alone, playing at Carolina, got you to the level that you got drafted in the second round in the 39th overall pick.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that process.
So for me, honestly, it was like my preparation every single day. At the University of North Carolina, you are pushed every single day to be the best that you can be on the floor. And for me, I understood that it was a chance for me to have an opportunity with all of those guys leaving in 2005. It was kind of, so to speak, my team. I stepped up to be the leader of that team. And even though we had guys, again, like Tyler Hansbrough, I asserted myself and let guys know that I was a guy that could contribute at the next level. So it was definitely a fun time for me to work my way up and to earn every single thing that I got. So I truly appreciate it.
When y'all won that national championship game, what went through your mind at that point in time?
Unbelievable. Can't believe this just happened. Did it really happen? Yes, it did. That's it.
Really?
Yep.
What was it like playing for Coach Roy Williams?
It was great, man. Coach Williams challenged us on a daily basis to buy into the team concept, and I've taken that. Like, if anything that I could take from Coach Williams, it's been that. Sometimes you will have to sacrifice your individual talents for the betterment of the team, man. And that's one of the best things that I could have ever learned from Coach Williams, and that's the way I try to coach my kids today.
One thing I've always had is if you believe in a team concept, and if the team's successful, individuals will be successful as well.
Absolutely. I tell my kids that too. Like if we continue to win, then everybody will be seen.
Right.
And they're going to wonder what are you doing to contribute to that team? What are the sacrifices that you've made to contribute to that team and the success in winning? So I continue to try to preach that to our kids nowadays, and I enjoyed it while it was happening with me at North Carolina.
After you was with the Milwaukee Bucks, and you played with Milwaukee how many years?
I played 2 years.
2 years, and then you went overseas.
Yes, sir.
And then you came back to the United States in 2017.
Yep.
When you came back, what was the driving force for you to say, hey, I want to get into coaching?
I kind of knew, I want to say 3-4 years before I retired, that I wanted to coach. But this opportunity presented itself in 2017. I kind of knew it was going to be my last year, and then I had my brother ended up passing, so which kind of pushed me to say this is absolutely my last year. So when I didn't go back, I took a little bit of time off. I chilled out a little bit and just kind of figured out what I wanted to do. And then this coaching opportunity presented itself, and I just couldn't say no. It was an opportunity for me to get out, take my bumps and bruises as a coach, continue to learn, and I'm thankful for every bit of it.
So you played for Southern Durham.
Yep.
And you graduated there.
Correct.
So what was the emotion when you played in the NBA, you went overseas, and you came back and had a chance to coach for your alma mater in high school?
It was surreal. Like once I got back to the school, like I had been there before, but being there in this capacity, like it was different. And I embraced it. I enjoyed every bit of it because I could remember walking through those halls, sitting in those classrooms, walking into practice. Even my first day of practice, being nervous, little stuff like that. Even down to the smell of the practice jerseys, little stuff like that. That all kind of came rushing back to me. So for me to be in this position now as the head coach of Southern Durham, like I really couldn't ask for anything better. And for me to be again taking my bumps and bruises and learning at my alma mater.
Playing for one of the greatest coaches of all time, in Roy Williams, what lessons did you take from playing with Roy Williams as a coach now that you tried to give to your players?
Again, just that team concept. If you are able to sacrifice sometimes your individual talents for the betterment of the team, then we will all be seen and we will all be winners. And that's one of the biggest things, like I said before, that I could pass on to my group as a coach, and one of the biggest things that Coach Williams passed on to me.
When you took over Southern Durham, this is your second year. Tell us a little bit the process. What did you encounter when you first got into your alma mater coaching?
It was interesting, man, because when my first time doing this thing, like I didn't know how to do a schedule, and I didn't realize that the turnaround from your tryouts to basketball actual practice was really, really short. So like, and I'm trying to put in plays and sets and all this kind of stuff. And we play our first game, we don't have a defense, we don't have a press, we don't have a press break. So like all of this stuff came rushing on me. And so I want to say we started off 2-4 my first year. We ended up 21-7, but by the time we were 6 or 7 games in, before we actually had everything in that I wanted to do, that we were prepared for every phase of the game. And that was a shocker to me to be for that turnaround to be so quick. And plus you got football players that are playing. So it was really different, but I was definitely prepared year 2.
Well, coming into as a coach at Southern Durham, the main thing is you had to have tryouts. You didn't know pretty much anything about any of the players there.
Right. So what we did was we invited, you could do a couple preseason workouts. So we invited the entire school pretty much, and we kind of broke it down from there. And then once we got to know the kids a little bit, we kind of knew exactly who we wanted. So going into tryouts, you kind of already know, unless there's a surprise that pops up. And for us, there really weren't any surprises. But there were a couple kids that made the team that had been trying out for 3 years.
At a public school, you're 4A.
3A.
3A.
Yep.
How many kids go out?
A bunch of kids come out at the beginning. And the way we do tryouts, we do a lot of conditioning. So you kind of
weed out.
Yeah,
Yep.
you kind of weed those guys out that really aren't really about playing the game rather early. Because I make it mandatory for you to be there, or not necessarily mandatory because you can't make it mandatory. But if you want to participate for this week, you have to be there for conditioning.
What was your record last year, Coach?
20-7.
20-7. How many of those guys you have coming back for this year's squad? And tell us about your top players.
So we have from last year's squad, we have 4 guys coming back with a possibility of another. Our top kid is a kid named Ahmad Hamilton. He's a guy in 2020 class. Can shoot it, can get to the rim, can handle the ball. He's strong with it. Rather slender frame, but he's a really good player, and I think he's D1 talent. We do have the possibility of having a kid, Ricky Council,
right,
which he played with us at the beginning of last year, but unfortunately he didn't finish the season with us. But he has a possibility of coming back this year, so that would be a great add for us. And everybody knows Ricky's dynamic, explosive scorer, explosive athlete. Would love to have him for the regular season for sure. And then we got a couple of younger guys. Kid named Aaron Hall. He's a 2021, and I think he's going to be dynamic. He's a big right now, but I think at the next level he'll be kind of a stretch four. He can stretch it out. He can put it on the floor. He rebounds at a really high clip. Another guy in 21 class, Jay Sean Hawkins, athlete, can shoot it. So we got a decent group, and I'm excited to see what they do this year.
Well, the one thing that you can give your players off this year's team, you can give them a lot of experience. You went through it as a player.
Absolutely.
Played for one of the greatest coaches of all time, won a national championship. What you can give those players off your team is priceless.
Absolutely.
And I think for a lot of these young players, such as the Ricky Council, they could use the guidance and mentorship that you can provide, the leadership that you can provide.
Yes, sir.
Because the kids at that school are very fortunate to have you as a head coach.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Coach.
you.
Good
Yes,
luck
sir.
to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Guys got it? Nice hard work on 3, sprint to the next spot. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hard work.
Sprint to the next spot. Don't walk. Get there, get there, get there, get there.